Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to show you how to run a closed source model with Infernet. And the specific model that we're going to be using is OpenAI's GPT-4. And we're just going to use the chat completions API to make a request to an Infernet node, both from on-chain and off-chain. So on-chain, we're going to deploy a contract, and through that contract, we're going to make a function call that requests a compute. We're going to see that compute get taken up by the Infernet node, and a request goes to OpenAI, the response comes back, and the contract receives the response. And also we're going to make a Web2 request, and that is directly through the REST API the Infernet node exposes. All right, so by the way, all of the code for this tutorial is going to be in the Infernet container starter repository, and the specific project that we're going over is the GPT-4 project. Awesome. So without further ado, let's deploy the container. The first thing that we have to actually that I have to actually bring up is that you need to pass in some configuration for this container to work. You can see that we have a sample configuration file. Simply copy paste this into the config.json file and modify. You only need to modify just one line, and you guessed it, is the OpenAI API key. So you can go on OpenAI, sign up, make a paid account because we're using the GPT-4 model, and that's not available for the free tier. Request an API key and replace, basically simply pass in your API key over here. And I've already done that in the config.json file, so let's go ahead and deploy the container. So to do that is pretty simple. From the top level directory, if you've been following along with any other tutorials that we've had, it's simply make build container, deploy container, project equals GPT-4. And running this, we can see that the container gets built and the Infernet node has come up. So now I'm going to make a request to the Infernet node, a Web2 request. So what I'm going to do is simply make a post request, and it's pretty simple. What we're going to do is make a post request to /API/jobs. Container is GPT-4, and data has this kind of structure. So whatever prompt that you have, you can basically pass it in here. And having sent that, it basically returns an ID for that job, and we can check the status of that job by making a GET request to this to the jobs endpoint. So curl get, and I'm just gonna pass in the ID address. I just copy pasted this to make sure that it just matches, and we can see that the result has come back. To make it a little bit prettier, I'm just going to pipe it into JQ so that we can see a full JSON. Beautiful. So this is the response. So we can see that the ID matches the job ID that we got. Container is the GPT-4 container. That's the container ID. And the output is the message from GPT-4, right? So with that out of the way, let's now do the Web3 request. So I'm going to go to the same directory, and I think what's useful is to take a look at the Anvil logs. So Docker logs Anvil node, and if you take a look at our configuration file, you can see that we are also bringing up a Anvil node along with the Infernet. And what this is basically this test node that we've built that has all of Infernet SDK's contracts deployed in it, so that we can basically make requests. So over here we can see that this is a typical Anvil node, all of the logs that you see and the available accounts and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to go ahead and deploy contracts. So make deploy contracts. I think I already have it here. Make deploy contracts project equals GPT-4. And doing this, you can see that some transaction was sent and some contract got deployed, right? Now what I'm going to do is to make a prompt. So make call contract project equals GPT-4, and then you pass in some prompt as an environment variable. Hello, how are you? Boring prompts, but let's just send it. So we can see that this transaction was sent. Infernet node picked it up and delivered the results to our contract. And we can see that I'm simply console.logging all of the responses. We can see that this output was come back from OpenAI's GPT-4. And so a little bit about the project. If we go to the containers app, the app.python file, you can see that it's a very simple Qt project. We are making use of our CSS inference workflow from the Infernet ML repository. It supports multiple providers, OpenAI, Goose AI, and multiple endpoints. So the completions API. I think we also support the embeddings API, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, so the code over here is quite simple. Deep dive over here to see basically how we encode and decode the smart contract side. So when we submit a request, how do we encode the data over there and how we decode it over here? And in case that it's a Web2 request or a Web3 request, we return two different kinds of response. So that's the container code, and the contracts code is also pretty simple. It's a simple Foundry project. We can see that everything, all the magic is pretty much happening in this prompts GPT file. It's a callback consumer, so it extends our Infernet SDK callback contract. And in this function is basically where we are making our prompt. So prompt GPT is just like a public function. It takes the prompt as a input, and we are requesting a compute from Infernet node, and we receive the compute results over here, right? So simply over here, I am decoding the output and basically printing it. And the ritual banner that you can see is basically is here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you can make rituals, Infernet nodes work with any kind of closed source models even. Yeah, so you can take this and replace the service with whatever service that you would like, and make your smart contracts actually have the ability to run LLMs and get LLM responses. Thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully see you in another tutorial video.